Hello, it's your financial friend Maggie. Welcome to the Inside Out Money podcast.
Hi, Maggie.
Hi, Erica.
Did I steal your thunder by starting first?
No, I like that you said hi first. I like when someone takes charge, you know?
I was so excited to say hello.
I love it. Well, I'm excited to say hello to all the listeners out there. Hello, and welcome to Inside Out Money. This is a personal finance podcast focused on redefining wealth from the inside out. Every week, I speak with people, all sorts of people. Just kidding. I speak with a rotating set of co-hosts about a different financial topic to help you improve your financial mindset and tactics. Today, we've got co-host Erica here, and this is perfect because this is coming out during the holidays. Nobody has time to do a lot of stuff during the holidays. Everyone's too busy. And this episode is for everyone who feels overwhelmed by the concept of improving or managing their finances. And I think that might be a lot of you, perhaps, or many people at least. And we're going to get lazy during the holidays. We're going to get lazy in the most genius way possible. We're going to dive into the world of Kendra Adachi. I hope I said her name right. Her lazy genius principles, and show you how you can apply them to your personal finances for less stress and more financial freedom. And, we think there are ways that you can simplify and improve your money without going crazy and being overwhelmed. And I really love the idea of taking other people's concepts and approaches to things, like her lazy genius principles. She wrote a whole book called The Lazy Genius Way: Embrace What Matters, Ditch What Doesn't, and Get Stuff Done. And then she's got some other books. She's got like a cookbook, a podcast. And in true Inside Out Money fashion, we don't have the author here. We have other people here to talk about this book and this concept. I'm half joking, but I like when we just talk about other people's concepts. And then I like taking concepts that were not necessarily meant for finance specifically, but applying it to the personal finance space. So she's known more for like general productivity, organization, etc. But those are all very transferable skills that you need in all aspects of life, including personal finance.
I really like this topic because I like to say I'm a lazy person. I don't think that I'm lazy because I'm too busy to be lazy, but a friend once said that he categorized himself as prone to bouts of inertia, which I think is a really heady way of saying.
I like that. Yeah, I like it. It's a very heady is a good term. Is a very smart way of saying you're lazy.
Yeah, and it's not like you don't. I think there's lazy where you don't get stuff done, and there's lazy where we as a society have a tendency to do too much, and so resting can be seen as laziness. However, in doing that rest, in taking that downtime, you can still find ways to be productive, like in taking care of your finances in very small, actionable ways where you're not exerting too much energy or stress around the things that you're doing to actually improve your finances.
Yeah, and I think, to your point regarding rest, we should all be prone to bouts of inertia, right?
Yeah.
Is that the way he said it? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Bouts? Okay.
Yeah, bouts of inertia.
We should all be, yeah. Sounds like a shirt or like a band name, Bouts of Inertia.
Oh, yeah. And then you say it enough and you're like, are these real words?
Yeah, I was like, bout. I was like, when you say the word bout too many times, you're like, what is this about?
Yeah, what are we
how I
saying
spun that?
here?
Yeah.
Yeah, those real good dad
Let's
jokes.
get us, thanks, yeah. We'll be here all week, folks. And then next week, too. Okay, so in her book, let me give just a quick summary of her book in case you have not read it. She offers practical tips to help us tackle life without running ourselves into the ground. Her motto is be a genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't. And that really is the book's framework. All of the other chapters break down these 13 lazy genius principles, which are decide once, start small, ask the magic question, live in the season, build the right routines, set house rules, put everything in its place, let people in, batch it, essentialize, go in the right order, schedule rest, and be kind to yourself. I like that. I like that it ends with be kind to yourself. So each chapter follows a similar flow of beginning with, the definition and then some real life stories about each principle, and is followed by some, actionable steps to apply that principle to your own life. Okay, so that's kind of the book. You're welcome to go read it. I think it is a good book. I've heard her on a lot of podcasts, so it's fun to listen to her on a podcast too. And let's jump in.
So why don't we apply this idea to something that's very approachable in our lives is like a good metaphor.
Yeah.
So we all do laundry, hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
I do
My
laundry,
laundry's
yes. Oh, sorry. I thought you were
you do.
asking
You
if I do
do?
laundry.
Yeah. This
Sometimes,
is good
yes.
to know. This is good to know. I still do laundry like a college kid where I shove everything in the washer and dryer, like just all at once because, I don't
All the
have enough
colors.
quarters to do it.
Yeah.
I did feel like a real adult when I started separating my colors, and then even more so when I started actually using bleach. But so that's just a little taste of how I do laundry. But there are probably people who perfectly fold their laundry versus me, who's just like, let's just get it clean and put away. Especially with my kids, it's like, as long as it's in a drawer, I don't even care if it's folded, as long as just put away. That's not everybody's system. But this is kind of what we're talking about here. Like, what is the goal? Is the goal to do your laundry and have it done and put away?
And have it like perfectly folded and like.
Yeah, versus having it perfectly folded, like you're working at the Gap and folding it around like this clipboard thing to have it perfectly neatly. So that's not our goal here. We're not looking for that perfect fold. We're looking for the stuff it in the drawer method.
Yeah, we don't need you to know how to fold a fitted sheet. Like, good for you if you know how to. Do you know how to, by the way?
And please tell us how to. No,
I know how to. I've watched that YouTube video like 5 times. I know how to.
Send it to me.
Oh, it's actually, once you learn it, you're like, oh, this is not that hard. But I still don't do it most of the time.
I call BS on that. Send it to me. I guarantee I will make it even harder on myself.
I'll send it to you. It's not that hard, but it's visual. You got to like watch somebody else do it.
Yeah.
But it's not worth it half the time. Like my kids lately are having a lot of sleepovers, and I'm like, why am I like folding a fitted sheet? It could just be piled. It's clean and it's in a ball and it's in something that looks like someone might have considered folding it but didn't do it right.
Yeah, you just cocoon it.
It's ready for next time. Yeah, it's a roll. Yeah,
it's a
like
roll.
A fitted sheet roll, like a little egg roll or a little sushi roll. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna roll in the pillowcases and everything. It'll actually be a little sushi bedroll and be like, you need some sheets.
Smart, actually. That's
be
smart.
Like, yeah, here's your sushi roll.
Talk about efficiency. Okay, so let's talk about how you fold your fitted sheets ties in and why it matters.
Why this matters. I'm not sure why it matters, Erica. I forgot what we were talking about here. No, okay. So
don't even get me started on duvet covers, but let's go.
Oh God, I hate trying to put on a duvet cover. My kids just refuse. They act like incapable. They act like I've asked them to do like AP chemistry. And I'm like,
hey, listen,
nope,
they're not acting. It's real. I almost called 911 on myself because I got stuck inside my duvet cover trying to get it on. Okay.
So why this matters? Because I'm tying all this back to finances, folks, because in case you aren't sure where you're at, this is a financial podcast. Financial overwhelm is a real thing, and ultimately, when you're overwhelmed with your finances, it can lead to avoidance and you not doing the things you should do. Perfectionism in finance is a real thing. It is unsustainable. It will discourage you. And you need to figure out what really matters for you and your financial goals. Like, that's the key. And if you take this lazy genius approach, you can do that. It's actually good timing because just a few weeks ago, Liz and I did an episode on Don't Let Perfect Be the Enemy of Good. And we talked about why you don't need to strive for perfectionism. And I would say, this method overall, right, the lazy genius way is, again, all about being genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't. And the reality is there are things that don't matter as much. And some of those things are going to be different for different people, right? So you're going to have to make some of those decisions yourself, but we'll talk through the principles. And we're not going to go through every single principle, but we're going to go through some of them that we think are more relevant to finances.
The first one is name what matters. We say that all the time on this podcast. It's like, what is your why? Name what matters.
Yeah.
Identify your core values and priorities in a specific area of your life, like a tidy home, perfectly folded fitted sheets, for example, meaningful family time. If you put that idea and tie it into your finances, you're naming your financial priorities. Like, what are your real financial goals? Is it paying off debt? Is it saving for a down payment, early retirement, travel, etc.?
Yeah, I think you got to know your why, right? And you have to understand like what matters to you might be different than what matters to me, might be different than what matters to each and every one of our listeners. And that thing in the process of actually naming that matters because it will help you with the whole spirit of the lazy genius approach, which is being genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't. What matters to you, it might be different than what matters to me, right? And so that is important. And it helps to set the foundation for all of the other principles. And so another one of her principles is decide once. And I really like this one because when you think about like efficiency and again, the word lazy itself could have some negative connotations, but it doesn't necessarily need to. I think it's the spirit of it is like being more efficient in things, right? Making a decision one time to automate something or to create a routine, it reduces decision fatigue. And from a financial standpoint, there's a ton of things you can do to automate the essentials, right? You can set up automated bill payments. You can make sure you never miss a bill. You can set up automated savings. You can set up automated investment contributions and actual buys of, I have an automated stock buy every week where I buy $500 worth of VTI. I don't have to think about it. I don't need to think about when the market's up or down. I'm dollar cost averaging my way into the market, and I don't have to remember to make a buy. I get a little reminder, a little notification on my phone every Monday that my buy has processed in Fidelity. And that's a great example of deciding once. I've decided that I want to buy low-cost index funds. I've decided how much I can afford to put into it every week and that I believe in dollar cost averaging. And we've got, whole episodes explaining, how we invest and why. And we can put some links in the show notes to that. But I've decided once and I've made it simple, right? And you can apply that to investment contributions, or you can apply that to how you're paying off debt or whatever it might be.
So the next one is put everything in its place. The original concept is to create designated spots for items to create order and reduce searching. And then the counterpart to that is organize your financial information. So have a system for storing important documents, digital or physical. Ideally don't have a stack of papers because your financial documents are definitely highly sensitive. You don't want those laying around. Know where to find account logins and relevant financial information.
Kenny logins, where to find your logins.
Yep, that's what I have on my phone. A contact card called Kenny Logins.
We don't recommend that, by the way. There's a whole episode where we explain why you shouldn't do what Erica does with her logins.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. And that's why I've had 4 credit cards hacked in the last 3 months.
Oh, nice.
Including my backup ones. Yeah. So don't do that. What do you use? Password?
I love 1Password.
1Password.
It's the number one and then password. And we pay, I think, $60 a year for a family plan. And we have a family vault. We keep some shared passwords together. We have our individual vaults, and it's super helpful, and I love it. But I will say, Erica, in the spirit of keeping your financial information organized, would you imagine I'm good at this one?
No.
Oh, it's funny. I thought you were going to say yes. I also asked that.
I know you too well. Yeah, I know you too well.
I'm not good at this one. I want to be good at this one, and I believe this one is important. It's actually on my to-do list to get a lot of my it's I've done the basic things right, but in terms of where all my financial documentation and stuff lives, it's a little bit of organized chaos. And I want to get things a little bit more cleaned up and organized, and even just how I digitally keep things in folders and other stuff. And one of my goals is to do that going into 2026. And I want to actually do a podcast about getting your financial stuff organized.
And I'll say this, I wasn't saying that as a knock on you. I think it's hard for anyone to be organized in this because we have accounts everywhere. So it's one thing to have your passwords in one place, but when your information is not simplified in one place, it's everywhere. And there's no way to have it be organized in a way unless that it makes sense to you. So that wasn't a knock on you. It's just hard to be organized when everything's scattered.
I'm pretty organized in the sense of all my passwords are clean and organized. All of my accounts,
a very organized person. Yeah. For everyone listening.
I'm a want to be organized person. I'm not, in many ways, I'm a little organized chaos in my best definition. But I have all my accounts they're well documented. I have my net worth tracking sheet. I know what all my accounts are. I go into them every month and I log my amounts into my net worth tracking. But what is more of a mess are my actual files and paperwork. And if I have to go find something related to my deferred compensation plan and I'm trying to find some document, I'm it's probably in my Google Drive. I don't exactly know where. And some of my planning and documentation around forecasting things out is in 10 different files with lots of ideas. And that is where I'm kind of a mess. Yeah. But I got the basics right and down.
I think that's a good place to start. And also, like, help decide for people listening in this specific category, are you a physical person or are you a digital person?
Yeah.
Because it's almost worse to have to do both and then do both poorly. If you know you're all digital, then you know where to find everything. If you're all physical, you keep it all in a file folder.
Yeah, and this, going back to the decide once, like, pick one and stick with it. And if it doesn't work, eventually move to something else. But you don't need to sort of have a foot in both camps. Just pick a system and go with it.
If you're digital and you need to make it physical, you can print it. If you're physical and you need to make it digital, you can scan it. You're not stuck to it, but you can stick to it for the sake of making it more simple on simpler on yourself.
Bout of inertia, simpler. You say any word too long, there you're like, where these words come from?
These words are funny. Okay.
The next one is ask the right questions. This is an interesting one, right? This is back to the sort of spirit of perfection and, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Instead of striving for perfection, ask questions that lead to very practical solutions. So, for example, what is the minimum I need to do here? And, I'll use myself as an example, right? Even when I kind of say I'm disorganized, like at a minimum, I am tracking my expenses and I am tracking my net worth. So I'm actually pretty on top of probably doing the right things for what matter to me at this point. But the questions might be different for everyone, right? So it might be, what's the next smallest step I can take towards my financial goal? So if your financial goal was something about building an emergency fund or paying off debt, right? What's the smallest step I can take? What's the next step I need to take towards that? What would a good enough budget look like that I need to stick to? Right? If you're trying to save more in your emergency fund, what are things where I can realistically cut back without feeling deprived?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is when you say, like, well, what are the right questions? It's individualized. So it's, what are the right questions for you?
Yes,
because there's only one right answer to that. Like, what's the good enough? What's the next smallest step? That's going to look different for everybody. Mm-hmm. So you're like, where can I realistically cut back? For you, Maggie, that's going to be different for me, And so that's where those questions are right, because they are personalized to each person.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the next one, Erica. Do you do a lot of batching in your life?
I don't.
Okay. But you know what batching is, right? Do I need to explain
yeah, why don't you take a roundabout and explain it? Because I'm not good at it, or I don't do it because I've never heard it in this. I'm not familiar with it in this.
Some people talk about like time boxing even, but it's the idea of grouping similar tasks together to improve efficiency. There's all sorts of data about how long it takes your mind to switch tasks and how like inefficient it can be to switch from one thing when you get interrupted and you're doing something and you're kind of in a state of flow and then you got to switch to something else. But I use batching as an example with the podcast, right? So if I've edited a bunch of podcasts, like the work I have to do to clean up show notes and to build the web page for it and to post it on my distribution platform and other things, it's very similar things. And so I could every single week do one, and I'm way less efficient than if I can do like 2 or 3 at once. So last night I loaded the next 3 podcasts that I had edited in advance. Luckily, I'm not always that ahead of things. I'm maybe best case kind of 1 to 3 weeks in advance. But when I am able to batch things, I'm much more efficient. So if I can sit down and pay like 10 bills at once, it's much more efficient. I already got my credit card out. I already got whatever saved. And I'm just in that state of mind. When I'm sort of paying bills like throughout my day and interrupting a meeting I'm in or whatever to do it, it's much less efficient. So the idea of setting aside specific time, so again, some people will use terms like time boxing, and they have certain time blocks on their calendar for certain types of activity, like email. Checking your email in a batch time boxing method is much more efficient than checking it 30 times throughout the day. And so setting aside a specific time each week, and this might be every month, to review your finances, to pay bills, to track progress, can be much more efficient than doing it 30 times throughout the month in these tiny little bits and pieces where you never quite get into a state of flow or focus with it.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've never heard that term of batching, but when you were talking about like switching tasks, that's what I'm familiar with, the concept of task switching, which is actually what multitasking is. you're not actually doing multiple things at once. You're switching your brain between tasks, and it's actually worse for your brain because you're not focusing fully. So it's the same thing of like what we were talking about earlier.
There's actually data. I was looking for a stat on this because I've read tons of articles about this, but I couldn't think of them. The idea of task switching is incredibly inefficient. Research indicates that it actually can reduce productivity by up to 40%. And that when you are switching between tasks constantly, you're incurring physical, cognitive, and emotional costs, including a significant loss of time and reduced work quality. And I've definitely noticed this myself, right? When I've got undiagnosed ADHD, and I can be very all over the place if I am not very intentionally sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to go through all of my emails that have a bill in them right now and pay them, because I automate the payment of most of my bills, but I've got like a bunch of like medical things and something from the gym and a few things that are not automated that came in that I've got to physically go and pay. And I will, people order stickers from my Etsy store. I will batch process those, but I'm a huge fan of batch processing things. And I think that is like one of those, nuggets of gold in the spirit of being a lazy genius, right? You're not really being lazy. You're just doing things. You're working smarter, not harder.
You're working more efficiently. And here's where we'll leave this, because I think the genius Ron Swanson from the hit television show Parks and Rec, he said, never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. And I remember that and actually have it as like a printed out framed thing that a friend and I share. But it's a good reminder. So just whole-ass one thing when you're doing it. If you can call it batching or you can call it whole-assing.
Whole-assing, exactly. Yeah.
Now that sounds like a real word.
About to do some whole-assing.
Yep.
Sometimes I have bouts of inertia and sometimes I have bouts of whole-assing.
Yeah.
There you go.
This sounds like
quote if you need
you should go to the doctor.
Okay.
If you're having like bouts of things. Condition. Yeah. Okay. So I really like this next one. It's living in the season, which is like the original idea is acknowledging and adapting to the different phases of life and what is being demanded of you.
Yeah.
So if you put that into the financial mindset, it's adapting your finances to your life stage. So your financial priorities and strategies will likely change over time, like early career versus raising a family versus getting closer to retirement. I wouldn't say it's necessarily unrealistic to keep the same financial goals the whole time, but don't be hard on yourself if you have to adjust accordingly. Be flexible and willing to adjust your plans as you move through these different seasons of life, and reflect on your current life stage and whether your current financial plan still aligns with it. I think that, you start out in your career and hopefully you're negotiating a good salary for yourself, because if you do, it's going to continue to compound. A lot of us didn't know to do that early on in our careers. And so you end up like making up for lost time. And then you start raising a family. You have to put more money aside for all the things that come with that. And then maybe you're an empty nester. You're getting closer to retirement. You might be socking away more money because you have less needs.
Yeah.
So ride those waves, and like that's where coming in and like asking yourself the right questions of like, is my enough? Should it be a little more now?
Yeah. I think the concept of recognizing and appreciating that there are different seasons and phases throughout our life is so critical, because we are just more compassionate with ourselves and more just realistic and pragmatic, right? Like I think about even financially how I was with my kids when they were really little and versus how I am with them when they're teenagers and becoming young women, and how I talk to them about money, how we treat money, what we're generous with, what we give them, what we don't give them, where we set boundaries. It's adjusted with the age of my kids, and it's adjusted with the phase that Greg and I are in, right? And that's okay, and that will be different for everyone. And so I think recognizing that there are seasons and then reflecting on your own seasons and whatever stage you're in right now, and letting your financial plan adjust around that and align to it is incredibly important. And I'd say, related to that is another one of the principles, which is start where you are. Speaking of, I think you can relate this to the season point too, but like, don't wait for things to be perfect. Begin with what you have and where you are, And I think this is a really good one from a financial perspective, or a very transferable point, in that there's so many people that can get overly like in their head and bogged down by their own past mistakes or by them comparing themselves to others. So when I do some financial coaching, I've got a lot of people who get really hung up on how much they have in their 401k and where they should be. And I'm like, look, you are where you are now. The best thing you can do is use that information to make a decision about what you want to do now, right? So begin where you are. Max out your 401k now for a year if you can, and try it and see how it feels and see how much money it leaves you with. And, that's one specific example, but I think you got to look at what your income is, what your expenses are, what your debt are, and get a sense of what you need to do with your finances. It will be completely different for everybody, right? Personal finance is incredibly personal, right? Hence the word. But I think the spirit of starting where you are is incredibly important. And again, it's a mindset piece, right? Of like, it's a mindset piece and it's a tactical piece, right? Of recognizing things will never be perfect. Your past may not be perfect. You may not be proud of it. You may not be happy of it. Or maybe you are, and that's great too. But a lot of people, I've been frustrated at times that I didn't know things earlier and that I didn't do better when I was younger. But it doesn't matter now, right? I'm where I am now, and I should focus on what I can do in the present moment with what I currently have in front of me. And what many of you currently have in front of you, if you're listening to this podcast and you've listened to other episodes, is you know what you should be doing, right? Now you need to go and do it. So that is where you are right now, perhaps. And I hope this serves as like a bit of a, pep talk.
Yeah, well, and following on that pep talk is the next principle, which is be kind to yourself. So extend grace and understanding to yourself throughout the process. And that's just for life. But if you take it to the financial aspect of this, practice financial self-compassion. So, we talk about the shoulds here. Like, you should go easy on yourself, but you should also like not compare yourself. You should like all the things that you think you should be doing that make you feel bad.
Yeah.
What you should be doing is giving yourself a little bit of grace around where you are. Like Maggie said in this last principle, starting where you are, because mistakes happen, but they shouldn't have to derail you from your entire financial journey. So another thing to think about is celebrating small wins. Like maybe you decided to eat at home instead of eating out.
Yeah.
Think about how much money that saved you. Personal finance is a marathon and not a sprint. And it's not going to be a smooth road. There are going to be bumps.
And it could be one of those marathons where you're not even running the whole way. You stop and walk a couple miles, and then you run, and then you see how you're feeling and if you can run again, right? Like, this is like, be kind to yourself, right? Learn from where you do have a misstep, but keep moving forward. And I think that is incredibly important financially and then just more broadly in our entire lives.
Yeah, and one action to take if you are feeling a little kind of feeling like you're being harsh on yourself is acknowledge one positive financial decision you've made. Give yourself that little micro victory and use that as fodder to move you forward instead of moving backwards.
Yeah. Okay, we're just going to do two more principles. One of them is name what enough is for you. So define what enough looks like for you in different areas to avoid unnecessary striving. We've actually, one of our more popular episodes, Erica, if you recall, was titled What is Enough? That was with you, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was me.
And I love those topics because, we did Want What You Already Have, which I think is in the spirit of enough. We clearly like to talk about similar types of topics. But I think, one of the hacks to getting better with your money is realizing what enough is and having some gratitude for what you already have. And I think, from a financial standpoint, I think you want to think about your lifestyle and, are you constantly chasing more than you need? Are you constantly seeking, are you inflating your lifestyle? Are you keeping up with the Joneses? Are you doing all these things that we talk about have such a negative impact on your finances and on your psyche, right? And figuring out like, what does financial security and contentment look like for you? This is not about comparing yourself to others. this is really looking deep down and saying, and I use this example. This is a real example. I have some neighbors on my street. I don't really know them, so I'm going to talk about them. And I'm not talking about them in a bad way. I don't think I am, at least. I don't intend it to be this. But I was talking to some other neighbors that we were chatting with, and we're talking about this. There's this huge house that's like much bigger than all the other houses on the street. My kids refer to it as a mansion. It's like the mansion on the corner. It's really big. It's like probably 2 to 3 times the average house size on our street. And I see it, and I'm sort of, every time I see it, some new people just moved in. They're doing a crazy amount of work to it. There's like work people there every day. It just looks like it is burning money. It is just, they're like redoing the backyard looked great to me. They're like redoing the entire backyard. They're putting in like turf. They took out all the trees. It's a very interesting approach, but to each their own. The point is, that house looks like a massive amount of upkeep to me. And I was talking to some other neighbors who are a little bit younger than us. They have young kids, and we were like chatting with them in their driveway. The husband said something to the wife that implied he was like apologizing that he didn't make more money so they could have a house like that. And I know that's just kind of like stuff people say and do. And I kind of said, like, I was like, dude, I wouldn't want that house. That looks incredibly stressful. Like, it just looks like a lot to manage and upkeep. And for me, my house, let's put it in perspective. I live in a 3,000 square foot house. That's actually a pretty large house in my opinion. It's 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a partridge and a pear tree. Just kidding. But it's like
the season.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. It's a big house to me, right? I think we could live in a smaller house if we needed to, but for us, it's the perfect size house, right? We've got 3 kids, everybody's got space and whatever, it's great. But that house is over 10,000 square feet. And like, whoa. I can't imagine having a house like that size. Like that stresses me out. Sorry, it's not so it is a 9,000 square foot house. It is 3 times the size of our house. But then interestingly, it only has 6 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms. So it has 1 more bedroom. But I've been in it before when it was for sale. It's significantly larger than our house. Look, I'm not knocking this family at all. This is their choice, right? They make a lot of money. Their parents are living with them. They've got 4 kids. Like they just had twins. Like it's great. You know, good for them. What I'm saying is when I see that house, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of maintenance. That's a lot of upkeep. It just got like overnight, it turned to 30 degrees in Atlanta. And I literally drove by it last night when Greg and I were so cold. And I was like, oh my gosh, what would it cost to heat that house?
Oh, yeah. Yes, those are the things that you have to think about.
So I just think about this when I think about enough, right? Like you got to make your own decisions of what is enough for you. But I think one of the biggest financial hacks you can make is to learn what your enough is, name it. And I'm talking about from a financial standpoint, right? From a life standpoint, but often there's the financial tag attached to those things that you say are enough. And stop comparing yourself to others and think about what is enough for you and what you want.
I can't get over this house. It has a 3-car garage.
Yeah.
Like a full-on walk-in closet.
And that's not uncommon though. I mean, the house across the street is of a similar size, but it has a pool and it's like much more fun and functional in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we wrap this up, the final principle we're going to talk about, and again, we didn't cover all of them, but we covered many of them, is the spirit of creating margin. And I love the idea of margin, right? Margin is building in a buffer and flexibility to avoid feeling constantly overwhelmed, right? That's the spirit of how the lazy genius talks about it. But the spirit of having financial margin is incredibly important. And financial margin could look like an emergency fund. And that is, margin in your calendar is like extra time so that you're not stressed between meetings. And so if something unexpected comes up, you can deal with it. Your emergency fund is that extra time in your calendar. It's your financial version of all of a sudden something falls on your house or you get in a car wreck or you can't work for some period, some medical something happens, you lose your job, whatever. You don't feel as stressed about it because you've built in financial margin. You have a true emergency fund, which is now going to kick in because you've actually, unfortunately, experienced an emergency, but that's what the emergency fund is for. And you can also create a buffer and margin in your budget for unexpected expenses. The Price of Avocado Toast, which are Haley and Justin, they talk a lot about this on Instagram. They always have margin built into their budget so that when unexpected things happen, because they they have 3 kids and a life, and unexpected things happen every month. It's not blowing out their budget, right? You should build margin into your finances because you know there's going to be unexpected things that happen, and you will feel much less overwhelmed and stressed by them when they do happen, when you've already planned for them. And look, the spirit of margin is like, you don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck, right? You don't want to buy more house than you can afford. You don't want a car payment that's at the top of what you can afford, because what if something happens? What if you wreck your car? What if anything happens, financially, and you can't afford that car payment anymore? It's stretching you way too thin. And so, you want to live below your means, right? Because that creates margin, and that is incredibly important from a financial standpoint.
If you apply some of the earlier principles to that, like asking the right questions, living in your season, like, are you able to afford these things? And if the answer is no, what's more important to you? Creating that margin, creating the scenario for the what if this happens? Like, that's part of the questioning there too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the spirit of the lazy genius way, again, is picking the things that resonate and work for you, right? And picking the things that matter, and then not worrying about the things that don't, right? And so of all the things we just talked about, think about the things that matter for you. Not every single principle is going to resonate equally with everyone. Choose the ones that feel helpful to you and don't sweat the rest, right? And simplifying our finances does not mean we're being irresponsible. It means we are being intentional and focusing our energy on where it matters most. And we're embracing imperfection. We're finding a more sustainable approach. We do not need to be a financial guru to take control of our money. I don't consider myself a financial guru, but I feel like I have control of my money. And I think the more you embrace a little bit of the lazy genius way, the more you can create a financial life that supports your goals, brings you peace of mind. And I hope the idea, again, I love the idea of taking a concept that again was sort of more built around organization in life, general organization, and trying to apply it to your finances specifically is always kind of a fun transference to do. And so I hope some of these principles and this way of thinking and the spirit of the lazy genius approach to things is helpful for you guys and kind of inspiring too.
Yeah, I mean, I think my big takeaway is do what brings you peace of mind around your finances. We already have a lot of stress in our life, and money is certainly very stressful, but we can make it be less so. And these are actionable steps to get there.
Yeah. Agreed. So, thank you all for listening. We know your time is limited and valuable. We always appreciate you spending some of it with us. If you've enjoyed this episode, it's like right around the corner from Christmas. If you want to give Erica and I a Christmas present, the one thing we want from you all is to maybe share this podcast with a friend, and then also leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts and tell us what you think of things. We would really appreciate it. And we also really love to hear from you. And, you could remember that quote Erica shared of don't half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing. So if you can only do one of those 2 things of sharing the episode with somebody or leaving a review, you should whole-ass a review.
Yeah.
Right? Or whole-ass sharing it with somebody.
Yeah. Do those things. You can also subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you have thoughts or questions, we'd love to hear from you. And you can leave a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370 or hit us up on Instagram. All right. Thanks, Maggie.
Awesome. Thanks, Erica. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy New Year.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa.
Happy Epiphany.
I can't think of any other holidays. Happy whatever you
Martin
celebrate.
Luther King Day.
Happy Veterans Day.
Happy Thanksgiving Day.
We're leaving this in the podcast.
Okay. All right.
Happy. You're going to stop now because I said we're leaving it in? I just wanted you to hit all the holidays. Happy President's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy July 4th Day. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.